Cool, let's do it.
All right, brother. Coach Vidal here with Vital Information Podcast. Coach Vidal of Vital Visions. I'm here with none other than the real estate genius, Dan Amaro. This is my first time going live, so this music is probably blasting, but I wouldn't want to have it any other way. So with that said, Dan Amaro, out there in Mansfield, Ohio. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a client of Vital Visions. I know that was very intense, but again, I wouldn't want to have it any other way. Thank you one more time, Dan. Dan, how you feeling today?
Feeling great, very refreshed, enthusiastic, excited. When you wake up and you have stuff to do from the day prior that carried over to complete the job or mission, it feels good. It's like, to me, it's like picking up a video game and continuing playing.
Like an RPG?
Yeah, yep.
Exactly. Life is very much like a video game, like a movie. In fact, I always tell people that our brains, are our flesh computers. They're also like our projectors, right? So, like what you think up here, if you think about it long enough and you start to develop intentions and emotional content behind those intentions, you start to see it happen in reality, don't you?
Yep, absolutely.
You start to create your own movie. So, Dan, this is probably our third podcast together. You've given me plenty of good testimonials within the business I own, which is Vital Visions. Vital Visions is separate from Vital Information. Vital Information, obviously, is the VIP podcast. You can see it right there below my name, below my video. But Vital Visions is a mental coaching program, spiritual coaching program that is using hypnotherapy, NLP, neuro linguistic programming to change the way you think, feel, act. And when you change the way you think, feel, and act, it changes how you become. It changes what you do. It changes the results that you have in life. So, Dan, let's start there. We began working together October 18th, 2023. October 18th, 2023 is when we began working together. How have you changed since this merge of you working with me, us working together?
Yeah, I've matured in areas that I was lacking or immature in. Um, Relationships that I wanted to develop that I was having an issue with started happening, and um, having more inner control when you're in a world of chaos or just there's a lot of tasks that are endless. Um, Being able to gather my thoughts and collectively uh, stay calm and improve. Being able to see myself in a way that I haven't seen in the future. You know, your exercises help people see the future of things that they didn't imagine beforehand. So that's a great explanation of how I've improved myself and what's changed versus writing down your goals, you know, that like you think about consciously, but then when your subconscious kicks in, it comes to you versus you thinking about it, and it floats out of you. So like your dreams, um, I probably of who you're really supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing flow out of you easier.
Easier, easier, easier. You will notice throughout this podcast, Dan and viewers, that I repeat myself 3 times. Dan, why do you think I repeat myself 3 times?
Besides to, I mean, make a conscious awareness of that note, uh, probably something along the lines with that.
So, yeah, conscious note, right? Emphasis. So, when dealing with the conscious, subconscious, or unconscious mind, your mind is made of memory, basically, right? Or your memories in your mind. Your memory is nothing but words images and sounds. Sounds and images, sounds and images. I just did it there, right? And so if I want to program your mind in a positive way, I'm going to say a statement three times, or typically three different ways. Because how your mind stores it is, if you say the same statement three different times in three different ways, it stores it in three different ways. So it's the same message, it's just being stored in three different ways, which makes it stronger, right? So, for example, if I told Dan he is strong, he is very strong, he is always very strong. Now the subconscious mind is thinking, okay, I'm strong, I'm very strong, I'm always very strong, right? It's just like
Mm.
talking to a child. If you tell a child they're strong, they might hear you the first time and think, oh. If you tell a child they're very strong, they start to feel it more. And if you tell them you are always very strong, now they really believe it, right?
And it feels good too hearing it said different ways, especially if it's a positive reinforcement.
Exactly. So that's hit number one when it comes to hypnotherapy and NLP, neuro linguistic programming. Neuro, brain, linguistic, language, programming, meaning improving, right? So you can literally improve your mind and other people's minds, specifically children's minds, from talking positive. And I call that speak performance. Okay. The
Mm.
word peak, like peak performance, is in the word speak. And so if you are talking positively to yourself or someone's talking positively to you, you enhance your speak performance. Make
That
sense?
makes sense. Yeah. I mean, the more you practice it too. I mean, so I will, how have I changed? Also, I will say I've taken um, creation or creating social media a little bit more serious. And with that, you have to practice and learn, experiment, and really kind of judge yourself. And I'm not even like a professional at that yet, or an expert, I would say, at that. But I'm generating buyers to my listings through it, and that's kind of the bottom line, at least, is that the product is being reached to more people, and I'm having fun doing it, creating something I love, but also improving my speaking, which ties into what you just said there. So the more you practice it, the more you speak and judge yourself, the better hopefully you become.
Exactly, exactly. So, those that are watching this that are potential buyers of Dan Amaro in Mansfield, Ohio, you must know that if you go on his social media, that you will see that he is very enthusiastic about what he does. He really truly wants to help you as a potential home buyer or someone who sells your home, and he has fun doing it. So the enthusiasm is there, the passion is there to help others, and he genuinely has fun. So that's what I've noticed about you, Dan, is that since working with you from October 18th, 2023 up until now, your social media presence has become way better. It's like night and day. Your enthusiasm is better, and it's not just that your enthusiasm is better; it's more focused, right? So you and I are very similar. We're very energetic people, and we both grew up thinking that we weren't the smartest, right? And without going too much into your own personal life, that's for you to mention. You've recognized how to focus yourself better, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah.
And can you explain how this increased focus has come about and how it has enhanced your career as a real estate agent?
Absolutely. So focusing on goals, but then the things that you discover about yourself that you didn't know, like those things I was just telling you that flowed out of you. There's new levels that you envision and say, like, wow, okay, I want to strive for that. So that alone is like seeing and striving for new goals is definitely one of them. And then focusing on the internal, like paying attention to when those internal issues are happening, or in the moment while it's about to arise, you're conscious of the anger or the frustration, or just frantic mode, like as if you're an entrepreneur, like you have these issues, you have the problems of scheduling, booking, while you're sometimes with clients, or and you don't want to miss new clients coming in, acquisition. So just when you don't have them filled out, or you want to fill those things out, it becomes very chaotic. And being able to kind of harness yourself is like a step that I sort of skipped over, and so this really helped as far as focusing on yourself, so that everything around you is able to be more fluent.
Good, good. Fluent flow. That's what that reminds me of. So there are 5 F's of the mind that I talk about. The first F is the one you just mentioned. I don't call it fluent, I call it flow. This is the state of the mind that we want to be in. We want to be in flow, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And the
Absolutely.
reason, exactly, the reason we want to be in flow, Dan, is because life, you mentioned, it becomes easier. It becomes much easier. So you mentioned a video game, right? This is how I explain it to people. Have you ever played a video game before and it gives you the choice of difficulty, hard, medium, easy?
Hmm.
How many of us actually select hard?
Well, I don't play video games because I suck at them. So if I were to, I'd probably pick easy.
There you go, right? Most
Yeah.
people pick easy or medium, right? When you pick hard, if you're easily frustrated, you're going to then eventually pick medium or easy. Because what happens is within hypnotherapy, within Vital Visions programming, my objective is to take your life from difficulty hard, medium, and make it as easy as possible. And so when it's as easy as possible, just like in a video game, you're flowing. It's there are objectives in front of you, there are obstacles in front of you to those objectives. However, you are accomplishing them very easily compared to before working with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, Dan, you mentioned future. Future is huge. Being able to see the future in your head before you see it in reality. Why do you think seeing the future in your head before you see it in reality matters?
Well, I believe that's what faith is.
Believing the unseen, right?
Hmm.
Now,
So
the unseen meaning the physical world, right?
right, and I mean, having faith in yourself, so having the ability, having the confidence, that all builds up into it. And I'm a huge proponent of believing in what you can't see, because that is the future. You have to envision where you're going before you going, I believe, to get there faster and best. Um, I mean, I learn best by doing, and that's usually where mistakes happen. But if you're just going without a direction, then you're just going.
Perfect. Perfect. If you're going in, or if you're going without direction, then you're just going. That's aimless behavior. Aimless behavior very rarely ever leads you to a destination of satisfaction, of abundance, of greater health, wealth, and success, right?
Yep.
It's like, imagine you're going to war and you didn't sight your gun. Imagine you go to war, you didn't clean your gun. Imagine you go to war and you didn't load your clips. And all of a sudden you get ambushed. And it's not just your life that's at stake, but your your friends next to you, your soldiers next to you. They rely on how good you can shoot and how good you can defend. In that situation, if you've been aimless, if you haven't been focusing on preparing for the future, there's a great chance you will be killed or at least taken captive, right?
Or left behind.
Exactly. Now, taken captive, you know, Christianity explains that you should take every thought captive, right?
Yeah.
So, what does take every thought captive mean to you in terms of hypnotherapy, in terms of just being a human being, whether it's personal life or professional life? What does take every thought captive mean to you?
To reflect, or at least, well, death lies on the tongue as well. So it's, I mean, combining both of those together, it's, think, I guess, really think before you speak and act. because words have consequences and uh, rewards.
That's right. That's the difference between spelling and cursing, right? The bad words are curses. Quite literally, they cause curses, right? If you tell someone that they're stupid, regardless if they know you or not, that sticks with them forever. They might not think about it, but it's in the back of their mind, and it's as if a curse was put on you because it was right. But if you say a good word, I just saw a quote in the Bible yesterday about a good word. Basically, a good word um, goes a long way, and so when we're talking about good spells, there are good spells, there are good words, and so if you think of Christ himself, he literally we know him via the words he's talked about. Um, if you think about the God of Abraham, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, God spoke a word and created the universe. Words are extremely powerful. Um, like I told you, your memory is nothing but sounds and images, and all matter is created from energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. And not only can energy not be created nor destroyed, all energy vibrates, and all vibrations have sounds, different frequencies. And so it is extremely important, not just what you say, but how you say it, the energy that is applied when speaking what you say. And that's why every time I hypnotize you or any other client, I really activate that frequency that puts a person to sleep, which is the Om, which is also in the word Amen. I'm not sure if you know that. You ever think of that one? Om, Om, Amen. Right?
Mm,
That frequency alone oscillates, meaning it goes in a circle, and our belief systems are loops, they're circles, right? And so without being too scientific and detailed, sounds create physical matter through the science cymatics. 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 Sound creates physical matter by creating sacred geometrical patterns. An oscillation is a circle. Um, Same sound a fan makes, right?
yeah.
When an engine is on and it's humming, what's going on in the engine? There's rotational devices in there making that sound that is an oscillating sound. So it is very important to know this as an adult specifically because you can literally activate your subconscious mind and get in a state of flow by playing an oscillating sound. So going back to flow, I said that there are 5 F's of the mind. Flow is the one that you want to be in. Flow is the one that I put you in. Now, Dan, the other F's, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, fight, attack, freeze, shut down, flight, fly away, run away, and then fawn, adopt a submissive role. Of those 4 F's, which one do you think that you used to be most of? Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn?
Fawn.
Fawn? And how did that affect your life negatively? How did adopting a submissive role or not speaking up or not defending yourself, how did that affect your life back then?
Being too indirect, not speaking what expectations should have been and are, and giving people too many benefits of the doubts instead of, having standards, and you're not meeting expectations, you got to go.
You say I have to go?
No, no, no. Like with other
Uh,
people, with it, like
yeah, not I'm
not
writing
meeting
it down.
expectations, so you got to go. And
Yeah.
holding people to what they said, which, like, and I feel like I never really had that much of a problem before, but when you have a massive amount of it, or a new level of it, you start to learn more about it and yourself with that.
So being indirect, being unheard, not meeting expectations, no boundaries. There's a quote that I always talk about, and my lady, who's actually here, she's in the background, kind of like Jamie on the Joe Rogan show, right? I have her in the background of the podcast. She'll butt in now and then to help out. Um, she likes this quote. She's like, I'm glad you started saying that. I remember when I first started telling her this. She started saying, actually telling this to my son. Closed mouths, closed mouths do not get fed, right?
Mm-hmm.
How has not speaking your truth, speaking what you want, speaking what you like, how has that affected your professional career in the past?
Uh, by being taken advantage of in situations where, I guess, also, if I had been more trained and prepared, that probably wouldn't have happened also. So, like, there's there's two parts of it. I mean, when you're ill prepared, that's when things like that are probably going to happen, versus when you're trained on what's coming. I guess experience, right? So, it's being inexperienced. So that's how that affected my career. And then, you know, once you train on those things and you prepare, you're no longer that, and you're confident, and you have a threshold of what's tolerable and what's not. So, that's how I'd say I was and am now.
Perfect, perfect. So you said that you used to fawn a lot, which again is the adopting a submissive role. It's basically not being the most, I don't want to say the word dominant version of yourself, but being the most, it helps you be the most efficient version of yourself because you're able to set boundaries, you're able to exercise and able to enforce those boundaries, right? So Tony Robbins, he always talks about how we are our own expectations. So if this bar is the bar that you raise for your expectation, it's only here. We typically come under our bar, our own bar, right? So if we're like, hey, I want to hit this goal, and this goal is $100,000 a year, you're probably going to come under $100,000 a year. But if you raise that bar to $200,000 a year, and you're truly, truly going for it, you're going to easily exceed $100,000, right? You're going to easily go over that. And that's the power of expectations. Now, you cannot meet your own expectations if you're fawning. You just can't. Because every time that you're going for those expectations, every time that you're shooting for those standards, there will be, again, obstacles. And if you step aside and slow down your momentum, your motivation, your confidence due to these obstacles, how could you ever expect logically to meet your own expectations? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Dan, it's been a pleasure watching your evolution because I not only do I know that you're being more vocal, that you are being more efficient in going for what you want, talking about you want, taking what you want. That energy alone is an attitude I can see in the social media content that you're creating. And people love that. People want to be around someone who is certain. People want to be around someone who is authentic because that is the strongest energy that a human being can generate is authenticity. So Dan, how has this program overall affected your real estate business? Houses you sell, houses you buy, etc.
It's made me more confident, as a person. Well, I guess real estate is a big part of my personal goals as well, which is a reason I love real estate. So, improving my self goals translates into my business, just through that alone. But then I guess, like, when with my rental property, with my triplex, when that took a lot of mental focus, and money and time away from me. So when I was dealing with that negative end of my business, that was bleeding into every other aspect of my life. Um, Diving deep within to stay calm, collected, and to visualize where I want to be in X amount of time from now, and anywhere in the world, and where I wanted to be was my triplex finished. So just giving reassurance and confidence that like I'm on the right journey, and to not give up. You might just need to pause at the moment in your progress. So getting through that gave a ton of experience in not only being a real estate investor, renovating 3 units all at the same time, adding bedrooms in there, getting stopped by the city inspectors, having a contractor screw you over $20,000 and leave your units empty for 8 months. Um, Staying calm and focused and being able to get through that has brought a tremendous amount of confidence that like there's very little I feel that I'd be able to not be prepared for.
And I was here for you through that situation you mentioned
Yeah.
with the contractor. Basically, you know, this is why you should never pay contractors full price up front, right? There's a reason why, like out here in California, there's a 10% rule. You can only accept 10% as a general contractor up front. Um, I'm not exactly sure if you paid full up front. Did you?
It wasn't up front, it was in rounds. And long story short, was very occupied with my business and checking in on him to where, and thought I built a relationship that I wasn't going to be taken advantage of, where he kept asking for money and I just kept paying it when he asked for it as work was being done.
Yeah. So I just remember you being frustrated due to the fact that the work wasn't being done in a timely manner. It wasn't being done the way you wanted it, and you had to step in on your free time, which took up time in your personal life as well, and make the fix happen. But because you made that fix happen, you gained the confidence, right?
Yes, sir.
So there are lessons to be learned in all the bad memories, all the bad experiences, and those are positive lessons about ourselves that we live through it for a reason because we can. We live through it for a reason because we can. And when we live through those bad experiences because we can, it enables us to live through the good ones. And so, very controversial figure here, Andrew Tate, right? And I don't really follow, I don't follow Andrew Tate, whatnot, but he says some very good statements. And he says, have you ever admired a man that had everything easy? He's like, think about superheroes. They're superheroes for a reason because they're extraordinary people that have extraordinary situations happen to them, right? Batman's parents were murdered, right? Batman doesn't have superpowers. He had to learn martial arts. He had to use high technological advanced gadgets, right? The grappling hook, for example, shooting that up at a roof, hitting a roof, and then flying up in the air, right? So Batman didn't have superpowers. So he's like a perfect example here because Batman went through tons of trauma. The trauma made him a superhero, made him want to fight the bad, made him want to fight the evil and win against it to protect other people, to protect what is good, what he loves. And so when you think about hypnotherapy, when you think about looking for motivation, um, it is very hard to find motivation in someone who has it easy. It's very hard to find inspiration in someone who didn't have a struggle, who didn't have a success story from that struggle, right?
Yep.
And so the struggles always the struggles always show up, and they're always going to be annoying. Just how annoying are you going to let them be? And that comes down to being positive bias and negative bias, right? What you focus on is what you get more of. Have you noticed that in this program of Vital Visions?
Yes. Yep.
In what ways has focusing on the positive rather than the negative helped you actually like delete or at least diminish the negative?
I mean, it's pretty difficult to have two thoughts at the very same time. So just even thinking about good thoughts alone takes over the time that you're thinking about the negative thoughts, and just staying positive. You know, you can control your thoughts. It just might be difficult.
And it's difficult for a reason, right? Because if controlling your thoughts was easy, it wouldn't allow us to develop mental strength, right?
Yes,
Like
sir.
I didn't lift weights for a while, but today I'm walking around like a T-Rex. Why? Because I did biceps and I did triceps with my friend, and my arms cannot straighten. That's as straight as it's gonna go right now. And they just can't, right? So the heavy lifting is symbolic of the difficult times. We need heavy lifting. We need difficult times to become stronger. And so, um, thank you so much so far for flowing really well with these questions. Let's talk, man. Let's talk about Dan Amaro as a real estate agent deeper, shall we?
Yeah.
All right, I want to pick up the energy here because I feel like since it's my podcast, I'm supposed to lead the energy, right? And I've been a little flat. I feel I'm holding onto a rock, right? This rock has some nice, cool energy to it. It's pretty humid here today. Um, I'm going to set my intentions on this rock to become really energized. I know it sounds crazy, but people are always looking for a rock. I used to, during family holidays, witness tons of fights within my own family. Every holiday after my great grandfather, Francis Henry Tipler, died, there would be there'd be fights, it seemed like, at holidays, any kind of family get together. And I would just walk into the mountains, walk up a hill in the mountains. There's a specific hill, and there was a rock. And I would just sit on that rock, and I would listen to the wind whistle through the trees. I'd feel the sunlight come down on me. And one time, a deer even came up to me and just stood in front of me and stared at me. We had a staring contest for what seemed like eternity. And it was then that I found what solace was, that solitude was. It was then that I found what it was to meditate, right? Prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening to God, right? And so rocks are symbolized throughout the Bible as a strong foundation for us to live our lives on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Dan, starting with real estate, how has clearing your unconscious mind, which is your foundation of your mind, right? We come into the world unconscious. How has clearing your unconscious mind, your foundation, how has that catapulted the rest of your life? How has that held up and re-strengthened, reinforced the rest of your life by clearing the unconscious mind alone?
Subconscious limitations being removed.
You got any ones that you want to mention as examples?
Trying to remember them at this moment. Um,
Interesting, right?
yeah, I know I had you made me write 10 of them down. One of them was I was average at best with intellect. Like my intellectual was just average. And sorry, hold on one second. Someone's at my door.
It's okay. So while you're checking that, Dan used to believe had average intellect, and that was one of my limiting beliefs myself. When I worked with a hypnotherapist, my hypnotherapist made me recognize that I was a genius. Just because someone says I'm a genius doesn't mean they're saying they're a genius in everything. A genius simply means that you are really, 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 really good at at least at one aspect of life, right? So Dan discovered his inner genius, didn't you?
I did. Thanks to you.
And when you began believing those words, you are a genius, you are a great genius, you are always a great genius. What happened to your professional career as a real estate agent?
It had progressed and I guess picked up. Definitely, it's picked up.
How busy are you today compared to before we began working with each other?
So I wouldn't say it's about busy. I would say like the organizational structure, and because I'd say I'm still just as busy, but just in a different way. Like so, like I worked 15, like 4 15-hour days, and last week with 2 10 hours, and worked a little bit Sunday. So like I'm really busy. But now it's more of training and showing others how to implement versus me just doing everything. So I'm only busy right now. I know that I'm growing linearly. So once that is done and developed, like you said, it's a muscle you're training. Once it's done being training, I'll be less busy.
Okay. So you're more organized with while being busy. You are starting to delegate a lot more of your duties, and that's for the goal of creating your own brokerage, right?
Not brokerage, just organization.
Organization. Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to the busyness, you said you're not actually more busy. I noticed that again, we began working together October 18th, 2023. November hit, literally not even a full month later, you hit a sales record. And then December hit and you even topped the November sales record. So you actually hit two records 2 months in a row. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, can you tell us more about that? How this program had potentially, I say the word potentially, ha- after you began working with me, how do you think that basically is conducive to you hitting those goals in November and December, just less than 2 months after?
It was adding wood to the fire. So getting out of my own way really, really helped. And there was things that I didn't realize that were there. I guess because they've always been there, or for years they've been there. And then finally being able to remove them, it's like getting rid of clutter in your room that you don't see because you're so used to it. You invite someone over, or you start realizing all the stuff that's going on. You're like, oh man, I got to clean this up. And having a tidy head, it's kind of like having a tidy place to live. And so just being more happy internally had flowed into every area of my life, really.
More happy, perfect. I like that. That's what it's all about. So Dan, all right. I want you to start telling me about why people should choose you when shopping for houses or
Go.
selling their houses in Mansfield, Ohio area.
Thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to discuss my business and what I think I do pretty well at. So the
You know
first,
you do.
I know I do.
You're a
Uh,
genius.
I am a real estate genius. First off, I'm a real estate genius. Second off, I own my own home and I own real estate rental properties. So I am actually in the game myself. I always look after my client's best interest, but let's talk about numbers. That's when you're searching, comparing real estate agents. That's what's important. One, I shoot professional videos with photography that stands apart with a professional listing description that I actually do. That's what I'm an expert at. My listings get around 10,000 to 18,000 views on social media marketplace alone. I've had 1,000 views and 100 likes saved on Zillow, same property in one day. So you're going to get the maximum exposure. And to get multiple offers, you have to have the best presentation. It's like going on a date. You have to have the best first impression. And
Ah,
when buyers are out there shopping for homes, they're not buying a house the first one. Usually it takes about 10. So your home is competing with 10 other homes. I'm going to help you price your property at a strategic price that's going to get the most amount of offers to drive it above the appraisal price. There's a formula to this. It doesn't just happen with X, Y, and Z. You have to know what you're doing, and when the steps aren't followed, it's evident. Um, my days to close average. Let's say we list your home on average, you're getting paid within 45 days, And if you're a buyer, you are moving into your new home from the first day you're pre-approved to your first showing within 55 days. That's the average day span of my clients. After that, we get the job done, but it normally does not take longer than 55 days.
Beautiful. I'm taking notes. So, Dan, I asked the question, why choose Dan Amaro to buy or sell your home? So, Dan shoots professional videos. He gets about 10 to 18,000 views on the videos. He maximizes the exposure for you. And not only that, he offers the best presentation because he knows the ins and outs, he knows all the details as to how to sell a home or as to how to buy a home. With that said, you're getting paid within 45 days. If you sell your home, if you buy a home, you're moving into that home within 55 days on average. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And my list to sale price ratio is 111%.
Wow. Can you explain that more? 111%
Yes,
list to price
sir.
ratio?
Yep. So that means of all the listings I've ever sold and we've placed on the market, they've the average of all of them combined have gotten 11% more than list price. When and like I use that as a great testimony to listen to the expert. And there's some clients that's fine. I only present options with reasons and let everyone decide what they want to do, what they need. Everyone's a little different, and so that's with choices. There's power, and I want to give as much power to my clients as possible.
Power to buy, the power to choose. There's an old quote in sales, because I was in sales pretty much my whole life as a career. And it says, people do not want to be sold, people want to buy.
It's
How do
true.
you help people buy? By giving them options, correct?
Giving them options, listening to their needs, really listening to the needs and discovering the solutions and uh, in the presenting it in the least amount of hassle and the quickest time with the best price or scenarios possible.
Is it okay if I tell a story, or do you want to tell a story about the time that you were basically shorted, right, on a price? A project was no longer your project. Then that project came back around after working with me, and it was a blessing in disguise. I know you know what I'm talking about. It involves someone at your church.
Yeah, you can go ahead and tell it.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong at any point in time. So Dan had a situation where he was going to sell a house, and he was working with other employees within the real estate market. And all of a sudden, he was pushed aside. He was no longer in the project, meaning he obviously wasn't gonna, you know, let's be real estate agents make a commission, right? So he was gonna make a single penny off of this deal. We started working together. Um, his career started becoming better because of everything he mentioned so far. He's more happy, more confident, more focused, more organized. Then all of a sudden, that same deal comes back around, but it's not the same exact deal because the price dropped down, meaning the commission was going to be dropped. Am I correct so far?
I would so I would say the story is I listed a house, became very close with the sellers because we had been searching for them to buy a house for 7 months, and the they couldn't find a house to move into. Um, it was a very tight budget in location with the specifics they wanted in their house. So inventory was low. We just could not find something that they wanted to move into. So they said, "We're not going to list our house anymore." Okay, cool. I had 8 offers on their house with a buyer that was mine under contract. So I actually did sell their house 100%. They just chose to not sell it because they couldn't find a house to move into. My pastor, so at that point in time, I didn't know my pastor very well. Um, Time progresses, my pastor starts telling me, "Man, that house that sold or it's off market, I really love that. It's my dream house. Like my wife has literally dreamed about that house." I'm like, oh wow, like if it comes in the market, if they call me, because I had no reason to think they wouldn't call me, um, we'll be the first ones in there. And next thing I know, a couple months later, it's listed on the market with a different agent, and that's where you're like, I'm no longer part of the project. That is where I was no longer part of the project. They had a different agent, and they listed it at a lower price, which I don't care about the commission on something like that. Like, I could care less about a couple $100, versus the I finish. So like, finishing means more to me than taking a pay cut on something. So when something's taken from me and I actually did perform and I did a job, and I actually had under contract $10,000 more than what they listed it at, and they listed it. So I already know this house is probably worth more than they're listing it at. So my pastor contacted me when I was on vacation at Kalahari. Said, "Hey, this house is available." I said, "Cool, I'll be there tomorrow." We were the first ones in there, and so I bought the listing. I ended up closing on the listing that was taken from me, and got my pastor a great deal on the place. And yeah, so that was a really, really good ending. And God has a funny way of teaching lessons to mature.
That's amazing. So basically, you're on vacation. A project was taken out of your hands, but then it was put back in your hands, and you actually sold that house to your pastor while on vacation. You just said, "All right, I'll be there tomorrow." Is that correct?
Yes,
And now your pastor has a home, and his family has a home, right?
down the street from the church. Yep.
Down the street from the church. These are the stories people want to hear, man. People want to know that someone is out there that is going to be on vacation and answer the phone. They want to know that someone is out there that's not just going to take a loss as a loss. No, 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 no. You're going to take that L and you're going to turn it into a W. You're going to make it a win, right? They want to know that somebody actually cares about, like, someone's commute, a house down from the church where he works, right? So, location is everything when it comes to a business. Location is also everything when it comes to a house, to your own personal home. um, Environment affects us dramatically at a psychological level. Our environment affects us, and by you putting people in the home of their dreams, you're putting their dreams back into their brain and saying, hey, not only is it up here, but we made the dream a reality. And now that you're able to see that in reality, it only validates all the positive beliefs that led you there. And so that actually increases self awareness, that increases self confidence, that increases self worth. So, what you're doing there is you're increasing people's self awareness, you're increasing their self confidence, you're increasing their self worth every single time you put them in a home that they had in their mind before they actually walked foot in that home physically. You ever think
Man,
of that?
I haven't.
So, you are changing the courses of people's lives by providing them the service you provide. And that's why people should choose Dan Amaro. Right there. That story alone is why people should choose Dan Amaro. So, Dan, other than that story, can you tell us the most challenging, another like challenging story within your real estate career and how you persevered?
Oh man.
What about the
Do
house
you?
flip?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if that's like persevering though. That actually went too smooth, to be honest with you. Let's do. I guess let me ask you: do you want to hear a story of triumph, or do you want to hear a story of success?
Aren't they the same?
The end is, but the story isn't.
Okay. Whatever one your heart says most.
Okay, I'll tell the more flattering one then. So I listed a property that I was representing a different pastor's son, his house. So I go to two churches and love them both. It's difficult to just choose one because I like them both so much. And so I helped one pastor, and then go. I don't even talk about business at church. I try not to deliberately. But when people come up and talk to me about it, I'm going to. And I met a pastor because I helped his daughter and son-in-law buy their first house down the street from me, and we developed a really good relationship because dad came on every showing. He was like pretty much the home inspector, and he's very bold. And I was like, wow, I people normal people don't talk like you. Like this is pretty awesome. He actually influenced me subconsciously to care about voting. I used to not really care about that, but just in conversation with him, understanding the value and importance of it. And he has another son who has a house down the street from me. It's a really nice property, 3.5 acres. It's a ranch, very desirable layout and house. And they needed to sell and they wanted to buy a house. So I got the gig because of that. And so I'm selling their house. Another buyer calls me from my signs and marketing saying, hey, I'm interested in this house, but I have a house to sell. So they got under contract on the pastor's son's house at full asking price. And then I sold their house above asking price within 3 days with 4 offers above list. And everybody was very happy about it. That's one of my biggest wins, and I'm very close with everybody involved now. Like the buyer to the pastor's son's house is her kids are now friends with my daughter Audrey. They go to the same nanny now. I introduced them to that. So there's just a lot of ties that come into it. So now at the church, right? I've got the pastor. I have the pastor's son. Is just it's just a warm, good feeling all the way around, and I can't help but think that like that God introduced and put me in those places to help improve and for future reasons as well that I don't know of yet.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So the whole time that we're talking, brother, I don't think that I was actually live on Instagram, but I've been live on YouTube. So I just clicked it. So now we're live on Instagram. So basically,
Sweet.
I'm here with Dan Amaro. I mean, this is being recorded regardless,
Yeah.
so we'll have the full form. But I'm here with Dan Amaro out of Mansfield, Ohio, real estate genius. We started working together back in October 18th, 2023, and his evolution as a person and as a professional real estate agent is amazing. He's constantly fixing problems for clients. He's constantly working, and he's constantly working with great focus, great organization, and great passion. And so to see him constantly succeeding, to see him breaking records, to see him doing better and better and better each month, whether it's his social media becoming better, his content becoming better, or just hearing all his personal wins, it's awesome. It's really awesome to be your hypnotherapist. It's really awesome to be one of your coaches. And I just want to continue to allow you this time to truly, 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 truly tell people why Dan Amaro, why hypnotherapy, why choose Dan Amaro, why choose hypnotherapy. Starting again with you, Dan, other than the fact that you're going to go the extra mile to help someone go into a home, what does it mean to you when you sell somebody a home? What does it mean to you when you sell a family a home?
So recent experience that reminded me of the importance of not only just good work ethic, the desire to strive for excellence. So you're never going to get a half or three-fourths Dan Amaro. You are going to get someone that you can tell very evidently is giving their 100% everything in their power to make it happen, whether it is selling, it's marketing, it is helping you buy, it's getting the offer accepted. I've had countless of offer. Though I've chased countless deals down for 3 months. The exact same house for 3 months. Offer rejected. It's fine. Like we chase it because that's their house. And I'm. I mean, if you couldn't tell, extremely genuinely passionate about real estate. It's a very large part of my life. I would be pressed for someone to find a more passionate real estate agent in Mansfield, Ohio.
That's awesome. And you said the word 100%, right? Have it written down 111%. 111%. Dan has a list to price ratio, of 111%. Please state again what a list to price ratio is and why it's 111%.
Yes. So a list to price ratio is the price the house actually sells for against what it was listed at. So just to keep math simple, if you list a house at $100,000 and I'm saying 111%, it's at 11% on top of that 100,000. So 111,000.
Yeah. So basically, you'd make them an extra 11,000 bucks.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that's
So
your average right there is 111% list to price ratio. That's really good.
thank you.
That means that you're going above expectations every single time. Speaking of expectations, right? So if you're someone watching and you're living in the Mansfield, Ohio area, or you want to move to the Mansfield, Ohio area, contact Dan Amaro. Why? Because he will at least make you another 11% higher than what you are selling your house for, right? So if you're watching this and you want to move to Mansfield, Ohio, you want to buy a home in Mansfield, Ohio, you want to sell a home in Mansfield, Ohio, you want to know that Dan Amaro is the right real estate agent for you because he's extremely passionate about what he does. He's a man of God. He's a man who loves his family. Okay, he's a man who consults his wife for just about everything because he cares about her. All right. He's always spending time with his daughter, his free time with his daughter. All right. He's been through many, many different personal struggles and professional struggles as a real estate agent, and he's only becoming better and better and better. And Dan, again, only gives his all. He doesn't give 100%, he gives 111%. And that is evident in Dan's list to price ratio of 111%. So, to give you an example, one more time, if you list your home, and let's just say it's $200,000, that's what you're asking for. Dan is going to get you another 11% on top of that. He's going to get you $222,000. Correct, Dan?
That is what that percentage means. Yes.
There you go. So, Dan, let's go back to last November. We started working together October 18th, 2023. Then you hit a sales record in November. Then you hit a sales record in December. What was the major change?
Hmm. Internal thoughts and internal power, harnessing harnessing the self limitations and removing them, grabbing them, throwing them out, and I guess dealing head on with those internal conflicts. It's very difficult to address things that you're trying to avoid on purpose.
Avoidance. Avoidance is equivalent to ignorance, is it not? To
Yeah.
avoid is to ignore. To avoid is to ignore. So I know there are a couple people watching. Johnny, Nightwolf, Daniel, In-House Genetics, Zanalek, Humalo. Right now I have a real estate genius, Dan Amaro, on here from Mansfield, Ohio. And he began working with me back in October 18th, 2023. And since then, he's broken records. Since then, he's become more efficient as a real estate agent. And he just mentioned the word avoidance. I want every one of you to think about what you are avoiding right now. Think about what you're avoiding. Think about what you're avoiding. Think about what you're avoiding in your health and fitness. Think about what you're avoiding in your career. Think about what you're avoiding in your relationships, your family life. Think about what you're avoiding personally. And most importantly, think about what you're avoiding spiritually. How is ignoring your problems? How is that ignorance of your problems? How is that avoidance of your problems going to help you permanently? How is that going to help any one of you permanently? Think about that. Dan, if you never joined my program, if we never worked together, I want you to think of your life. How would your life be now, almost a year later?
I probably wouldn't be talking to my dad because we were in pretty severe conflict while we were having our sessions. So not reacting and having control of myself, my inner self. and my feelings on what was going on.
So relationship with
And
your dad is better. Okay.
yeah, and I mean, it's your sessions are like intense therapy. That's what I would equate them to, like self discovery, and it's intense. It's big change. So when there's big change, there's severe emotions. Usually, at least when it's with yourself.
So relationships get better. It's intense therapy. There's a lot of self discovery. And what does this do for your confidence and your motivation? What does Vital Visions do for your confidence and motivation?
Um, it raises it to a new level.
Raises it to a new level. So you mentioned the word new level now 3 times this podcast, right? The song that I opened up this podcast to was the song that I would walk out toward to my amateur and professional fights. And it's called the song is called The New Level by Pantera. The chorus is a new level of confidence and power. When I was 13 years old, I had to defend myself from someone who was trying to attack me. And I had this song playing in my head, and I was actually singing it while I was boxing them. And after I defeated them, I was like, "This is my song. This is my anthem. This is like this is the song. This defines who I am." Um, because the pre-chorus is this: new life in place of old life, unscarred by trials, unscarred by trials, a new level of confidence and power. And that's exactly the energy, exactly the power that I am transferring into every one of my clients intentionally. I want every one of you to be more confident. I want every one of you to be more powerful. And when I say powerful, I'm not talking about bad power. I'm not talking about evil power. I'm not talking about ugly power. Okay? I'm talking about the ability to exercise your will to do good in this world, whether it's personally and whether it's professionally. I've witnessed you, Dan. I've witnessed you, and this is not me, being biased because I'm your coach, because I'm your hypnotherapist. I've witnessed you and that inner happiness that you're talking about increase. It's evident. It's evident in the content you create. We started off this program, we started off this podcast talking about video games and movies. This is your projector. Your brain is your projector. What you see up here, you're going to see in reality, right? You're creating
Mhm.
your own movie around you. And literally, when you create your own movies, your own content, that's what you're doing, Dan. When you create your own content on social media, you're creating your own movies. And we now see this energy, this happiness, this confidence, this motivation. We see that intensity that you have because you are passionate about putting people into homes, putting their families into homes, and you're passionate about selling the homes that those have to offer. And I'm a big note taker, right? I'm just gonna go down a list, and then I want you to rep yourself more here because again, this is about you, brother. You started off mentioning the word future, faith, believing in the unseen, right? Writing your goals down. Life became easier for you, and it felt good. You started feeling better. You became more creative. You became more creative. Greater content on social media, like I said. You became very serious about it, right?
Yep.
Your focus increased. You tapped into flow, which helped everything become easier. And you began really defending yourself, honoring yourself. Let's use the word honor yourself. You began really
Yeah.
respecting yourself by being more direct, by speaking up, by raising your expectations, by creating boundaries, and by opening your mouth so that you can be fed. And no longer do you allow others to take advantage of you in business or personally because you have confidence, because you have organization, because you are genuinely happy with yourself. And when it comes to why people, focusing on why people home owners or potential home buyers should work with Dan Amaro, it's because you are constantly presenting the situations that you're in as best as you can. Whether you're trying to sell a home, whether you're trying to buy a home, have someone buy a home, you are there presenting as best as you can. So if someone's selling a home, they're going to get paid within 45 days. If someone's buying a home, they're going to move within 55 days or less. You have 111% list to price ratio, and you comprehend that people want to buy, they don't want to be sold. And it's all because you listen to their needs. Dan, you use the word internal power, a new level of confidence and power. Earlier, I mentioned speak performance, and how speaking the performance into your mind allows you to peak the performance in reality. Dan, you are a testimonial yourself of the human mind, of the human will. You are a testimonial of yourself of what God can do to a man that believes. You are a testimonial to yourself and your family of what a family leader is. You are a testimonial to your community, someone that cares about the community, the church, the people involved, the people that are moving in there. Dan, the question that I have for you is, why do you do what you do? And how does it make you feel?
I do what I do to play a role in something bigger than myself for someone else.
And how does that make you feel?
Like a winner.
Are you a winner?
Yeah,
Close your eyes quick, brother, and say, you're a winner out loud.
I'm a winner.
Say, I'm a great winner.
I'm a great winner.
Say, I'm always a great winner.
I'm always a great winner.
And how do you feel when you say that?
Good.
You feel good, right? And what does that make you want to do? That energy that you're feeling right now, what does that make you want to go do?
Dominate the world with sales.
Put people in homes, right?
Yeah.
Sell their homes for them. That's right. And as you see that happening in your mind, what are the results in every other aspect of life? What are the results when you're putting people in homes, when you're selling their homes for them? What are the results in other areas of their lives, in your life as well?
Oh man, what was it you said? Self value or
Self
what
worth.
was
Yep.
self worth? Yeah, improved self worth.
That's right. Now open your eyes, brother. I want you to say the word improve.
Improve.
Say improve.
Improve.
Now I want you to separate the words, the letters I am and improve, and the word prove. And I want you to see that it says I'm prove, I am prove. All right? Bro, you are proof. You are proof that Vital Visions works. You are my client. You made the conscious decision to join this program. And because of your success, now I feel self worth has improved.
Mm.
My self worth has improved. And that's the energy of love and authenticity. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for expressing yourself the way you have today in your personal life, mainly your professional life. Dan, if you have any final words to anybody in Mansfield, Ohio, or anybody in the world that has any kind of struggles, specifically in Mansfield, Ohio, somebody that wants to buy a home or sell a home, what would you tell them here in your final words?
If you are looking to work with a real estate professional with integrity and is results driven, you found him. Buy and sell with Dan Amaro.
And where can we find you on Instagram?
Dan period Amaro period realtor, and same thing on Facebook.
Dan period Amaro period realtor on Instagram and on Facebook. With all that said, Dan Amaro from Mansfield, Ohio. Thank you so much for being here. Any final words in general before we hit the end button on the record?
Yeah, so I have a goal this year to have 1,000 followers and subscribers on YouTube. So that's where I post my flip, my real estate investment projects, my renovations. So if you're watching this and you have a passion about real estate, or you have an interest in getting started in real estate, that's what the channel is for. So please click the follow button, search "buy and sell with Dan." That's me.
Buy and sell with Dan on YouTube. All right, well, let's get you that 1,000 followers. I'm all about helping you hit goals. If you have goals, that's my role. Your goal is my role.
Oh,
So,
that's good.
Dan, 1,000 followers on YouTube within the next year. You got that easily, brother.
Thank
All
you.
right, I'm gonna hit the end button and then just stick around for the next couple minutes, okay?
Cool. All right.
All right.